So yeah, so on your thing that you're so you're running the FSD Beta.
Yeah.
How is it going?
To me, it's going great. This will likely handle the whole trip. Downtown can be challenging. Some little things might happen, but it's actually already in the self-driving system now.
I noticed. So.
Yeah, I got the. I was one of the first 1,000 non-employee, non-big YouTubers to get it in October of 21 with version 10.2.
Oh right, yeah.
And now there's probably 1 million plus people that have this tech and are using it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's officially called FSD Supervised instead of FSD Beta.
Yep.
But it's largely still, a product that is in beta.
Oh yeah.
We have to be smart, be paying attention, because chaos factor of everything around you.
Yeah. But, so our friend, our boss, he's got a Model 3. I have an MG, the electric MG, an MG5, and I've been hassling him because his car is hardware ready for full self-driving.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I'm like, go on, spend the money, do it.
Hopefully this will get over in time, because this seems to go straight through. Good. I don't think it's going to manage to get in the turning lane, though. It's we'll see if it's assertive enough. Here's our chance.
Yeah, no,
take it.
I've watched quite a few videos and I've seen some amazing moments in the car.
It's taking way too long though. Is it? This guy's passing. Will it do it? Oh, this freaking Subaru wasn't being a jerk behind us.
Oh.
There we go.
You didn't have to do anything.
Nope.
No, that was. Yeah, I've seen some of the videos of like watching it take gaps, and the car's like, I can take that gap.
Yeah.
And so it would just shoot through at like 20 miles an hour with 4 inches either side. And you're like, holy moly, that's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, that would have been a lot smoother if the stupid primate in the Subaru behind us didn't think, I'm not letting you over. That's what's funny. You'll notice along this trip too, if people have their turn signal on to get in front of us, the robot goes, sure, come on,
yeah,
get in front of me. It slows down and lets people zipper in. Yeah. Here he is again as we're trying to get over. Figure it out, dude. Now you're slowing down. And people are worried about self-driving cars. Humans are so bad at this.
If every car was self-driving, instantly like 90% of traffic would disappear.
Yeah.
Because every car would follow the rules, it would give way.
There just wouldn't be so much delay in the start times as well. Do you mind if I film a bit of this?
Oh yeah, go for it. No problem. And that's a QR code right to the channel if you guys are curious for all the FSD stuff. Yeah. My audience prefers the customer interactions. I like the data side and like the more sciencey measurement stuff personally, but
yeah. So if you're into all this stuff, have you ever looked at the Comma AI?
Yes.
Because I keep looking at that and waiting for someone to do a build for that will take my car, because my car is fully ready for it.
Yeah, I experienced Comma AI's system for the first time in 2022, I want to say.
Yep.
One of my viewers actually reached out when I was in Oregon doing some training for another company and said that he had the system. So we did a bit of a collaboration set of videos that are really early on my channel that you can find, where he rode with me to experience FSD Beta version 10 at the time. Yep. And then I rode with him to experience what the Comma system was doing. And it was kind of a cool sort of FSD, Apple, Android kind of comparison in a way.
Yeah.
What was the takeaway? What did you find?
I thought the Comma system was very impressive, but it was obviously limited in being able to do, at the time, again, 2022, so that doesn't speak to what it can possibly do now. I have actually no idea. But at the time, it didn't have the ability, maybe limited more so by the car hardware, to be able to execute sharper turns and to be able to do what it needed to do to city streets driving. He had to kind of help the car by applying some pressure on the harder turns, which was kind of cool because I can't do that. If I apply pressure to the yoke, it disengages. It gives me control. But he was able to actually give it a little help, which I thought that was kind of a cool little thing. Like, I would like to be able to occasionally sort of like nudge it away if I needed to.
Yeah, you can read the human language of another person's face and say,
yeah, exactly.
I knew that it yields.
Yeah, I definitely want to do some more cross comparisons now, given how good version 12 is. Granted, I am not really... what's the right way to say this? I will be very excited once we have the city and highway on the same single neural net.
Yeah.
Currently it's not. Version 11 is still handling the highway stuff. You can actually, I wonder if I can pull up the release notes real quick for you, just to show you while my car here does the driving. Here we go. So I actually didn't catch this at first. A buddy of mine, my data bro that has helped me build my dashboard for representing this stuff, pointed out that it's actually in the release notes, because a lot of people were kind of saying that the city and highway is now separate again. Version 10 it was separate because the highway was the old navigate on autopilot stuff, and then the city streets was FSD Beta. Right. And version 11 merged those stacks together, which revolutionized the whole system and how it handles everything. And then version 12 took it a step further and dropped the human coding for a full end-to-end neural net that's video trained AI completely. Really? That's currently City Streets, and it says here, FSD Supervised version 12 upgrades the City Streets driving stack to a single end-to-end neural network. So that tells you everything you need to know right there. The City Streets portion is good. And that's also corroborated by the fact that when you're on the City Streets, this changes to auto.
Oh, right.
Which I've given permission to the car to do as much as it can without me.
Yes.
On the highway, it's still version 11 where I can mess with the speed. Doesn't have an auto adjustment. Oh, there's the Lyric. That's the electric Cadillac. I know nothing about it. It looks good, but it's made by GM, so I'm not really all that expectant of it being very great.
Still on a template as well.
Yeah, yep. I'm seeing them more and more. They blend in. They're pretty vanilla, which is good for people, because not everyone wants a Cybertruck. You know, they want something that's more kind of the same.
Yeah. I personally trust it. I have no qualms with these systems because, like you said, you know, if everyone has the reaction speeds of a car that is currently running at whatever clock speed, as opposed to your granny.
Well, and your full field of view around the entire vehicle as well, versus our human eyes.
Yeah.
You know,
being able to calculate in every angle all at the same time.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this car's doing this car's doing this. Oh, those vectors will collide.
Yeah.
Don't go that space.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I will immediately steer out this lane because I know it's clear. I don't even have to check. Like,
no, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's been fun to show the proof of concept too from my perspective as an actual autonomous taxi. Famously called by Tesla RoboTaxi, now CyberCab is their official moniker for it, which I actually really like a lot. That's dope. I wish I had thought of that because my channel CYBRLFT, just kind of like because my original idea for the channel was to be in a Cybertruck doing lift.
Yeah.
And that was where I got the name from, and getting the reactions of people. And then when the FSD thing was going to come out, I was like, oh boy, I could actually attack this from like the level of a scientist and like really show what's going on. Not just, cool, look at this drive that most people were doing, which is great. I watched all those videos. I mean, the OG Tesla YouTuber I watched was Dirty Tesla. Chris is amazing. He showed everything it was doing from version 8 and going through, and he had a good head on his shoulders too. He was willing to show you when it wasn't so great, which I liked, because you have your kind of polarities where people are like, it's trying to kill everybody, and then it's ready yesterday. Yeah. And both are equally kind of dumb. I like being in the middle with, oh, here's the actual data I've collected. This is what it can do.
So, I'm wondering, like, how does the car do efficiency-wise when it's in self-driving compared? So, through like the APIs and stuff, can you actually pull those separate streams and say, can you tell me what your average miles to kilowatt hour was under self-driving versus when you were in control?
You know, it wouldn't be hard to actually do that, given our ability to track what's going on.
Exactly.
And then on top of that, what I do to track the mileage for each drive that I do, my data entry, whatever, your odometers. So, and it shows your kilowatt hours and everything used. The information is there to parse out that efficiency across the board. Given my use is, greater than 95% on self-driving, the majority of my efficiency is reflective of that. And I have it generally set to about 115 kilometers an hour as my upper speed limit, 71 miles per hour. Yeah. And it's far more efficient than somebody going 130 kilometers an hour.
100%.
I would say the FSD just not having the need to gun it to get around everybody is already at a standard above in efficiency.
Your current drive is at 149 watt hours per kilometer, that's why.
Yeah, watt hours per kilometer. Yeah. So you're gonna add I can actually just real quick we can show that again now. There, now we can see the actual watt hours average. Since last charge is probably a good one. Actually, the one from my last tire rotation might be even better.
4. Yeah, so that's pretty good. That is really good.
And that's also with an average increased mass, because I usually have a passenger. I actually did a survey over 200 trips. The average is about 1.5 people per trip if you factor in like the amount of 4 passenger, 3 passenger, 2, 1.
Yeah.
So this is with more mass than the average person driving around by themselves.
That is.
So
yeah, that's nice.
That's kind of a nice metric to have there too. I'm such a geek with all like the science and data. So like any of this numbers stuff, man, I can just nerd out.
So yeah, when I first got my car, the first thing I did was I was like, okay, let's go buy a Bluetooth OBD port, because that's the other thing as well.
Yeah,
With buying
that's different.
Buying a Chinese car, I can just do whatever I want to that car. No one, even the dealership is like, are you changing things? I'm like, maybe. Like, we have no idea, because we don't have anyone that's looking at the software level on these cars.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I am, because I own it, and I want to know if it can do stuff.
I'm of a similar mind. I want to know, all right, what can we do here?
Yeah, so my brother's got a Model Y, and my brother's built his own dashboard so that he can just sit at home and look at his numbers go up, which is glorious. So he's a software developer by trade.
Oh, that's fantastic. I was doing my stuff from the beginning, very old school pen and paper, with a little journal measuring everything until my data bro that I mentioned, he built a dashboard through Google to actually import all the stats from each drive. And on my YouTube channel, I do what I call the RoboTaxi Report, because there's an accompanying dashboard that takes this data and displays it. And it has been incredible compared to my kind of using Photoshop crappy stuff that I did in the beginning. Because now I can essentially, just like I'm streaming a video game, I can just sort of live stream this dashboard on the, it looks a lot better on the desktop, but this is the sort of like visuals it's showing.
That's really
Tesla FSD tracker, I haven't noticed it yet.
Yeah, there's if you go to TeslaFSDTracker.com, you'll see his big project, his baby, which is the community tracker that has over 100 testers, almost 200 testers now, contributing all over the US and Canada.
Oh, brilliant.
And then in the top right of that website, you'll see mine. It'll say RoboTaxi/CyberLift or CyberLift in parentheses, and that's just my dedicated rideshare data. So it's dope.
That is cool.
It's been a lot, and in mine on the customer side, it refreshes. I think like every 3 hours is what he was telling me. So people are able to follow. I like to tell people on X and on YouTube as well when I'm going through these reports or the videos, like you can see this stuff yourself. You can click around and play with it and look at the different builds and mess with it as an actual interactive dashboard.
Yeah.
Versus just listening to me talk about it, which has been a lot of fun. I'm glad that the data side, the more nerdy stuff is getting the eyeballs on it. My last RoboTaxi Report video on X went viral and got over 50,000 views. And I was like, thank you, that's cool. This is what I want people to see, because this is the stuff that actually gives you an idea of like where we're at, where we can go.
Yeah.
Even understanding a sample size of 1, in my case, with my volume of driving and my own integrity, I've gained that sort of trust from people.
Yeah, and also, you know, for people that have, you cannot argue with data.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's almost like, oh, but...
You can try.
Like, no, look, here it is, as a graph.
Yep. No, it's been great. And there's been a lot of awesome audience feedback too, like different ways to depict it, or like, you know, what might be less intuitive than others. And we've been able to refine by taking in this feedback to make it just not only really appealing to people who understand and love the data, but more visually intuitive for people who maybe don't. Be like, this line's going this way, that's good.
Yes.
You know, and it helps more people understand.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, as in, and you'll be able to see when you're looking at version 12 compared to like version 11 and before. Aside from an outlier, sort of a unicorn build I had on version 11.4.2.
Yeah.
That was amazing. And I thought like, oh my God, are we there? Did they crack it? And then with the next update, it just went, and I was like, oh.
93% success rate, and then the next build, 40.
Oh,
like,
it was really unfortunate.
Somebody put an integer instead of a float.
You're right. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because it keeps getting a point something.
Yeah, that's why I got really excited with version 12. Admittedly, this current build we're on is a bit of a regression, because and the main cause of it, you'll actually be able to see if you look at the causation, the donut that shows what's going on. There's a lot of maps and staging problems with the route. Like what we actually experienced was like a really awesome case of it doing it when I thought it wasn't. Yeah. But then there are even simpler cases where it's like, it needs to take this exit, and it doesn't even indicate, it just passes it like, oh shit, oops. Okay. So, and then that I typically, it's if it's a mapping issue or just a route staging issue, it kind of depends on, staging means like it didn't prepare itself. Yes. It didn't, you know, stage for the next maneuver. Yeah. That's pretty obvious. If we're in this lane but we need to take that exit, stage failed. But if we're in that exit lane or on it and it doesn't indicate or anything, then I typically classify it as like background map issue. Like maybe there was something in the navigational mapping.
So where they're still pulling their map data even for the FSD stuff from Google?
Yeah, there's something going on. There's a couple of intelligent software guys that helped me out, Wes and Meta on X, shout out to them. that have showed that, with some of the ways the system seems to correct an error seemingly in real time, there seems to be like an application based on my taking over of a change in the background map metadata, as they've called it.
Yeah, that makes sense, because you'd think by this point, if they're running this number of vehicles, that they must be updating their own map source to be saying, well, look, the car is getting pushed here. I can totally disagree with whatever map I'm looking at, because the car would not be still driving if there wasn't a road there,
Sure, yeah. And that definitely goes beyond a lot of my expertise. I'm learning a lot more about this stuff. I'm sort of a sponge for science, and I'm pretty good at explaining it to the average person, but I'm definitely not an expert in any single field. Yeah. But it is great to learn more about these things, because initially when I saw this thing kind of fix itself in real time, I was under the initial layman's impression that, holy shit, it learned in real time, which isn't the case. That's not how that works. There's kind of a set of probabilities, and you just want it to be more in favor that it does the right thing than the wrong thing. Right. You can use that to sort of train it over time, which is kind of a fun, like, technological version of natural selection.
Exactly. Well, yeah, so that depends on the different machine learning algorithms that you're using.
Exactly.
So we were looking at a project, so it's a web trade, we're artists, I'm an artist, he's an artist, but we build technology to build art. So we write software to make artworks that work. So
interesting.
And so I was just looking at a big funding round application to build an AI model because we built all these different software sets, and then we have a human interaction level where you then use those software sets to build the artwork. But we sit and talk about things in a very kind of natural language level that is very personal and individual. So the fact that, whenever I say, oh yeah, something that feels like warm and homely, like the guys I work with know what I mean by that. But to you, that might have totally different connotations and language structure. So large-scale models don't work for art because an artist is an individual, and this whole thing about like bias
and the subjective personal experience of things.
Exactly. Yeah. So because there's all this conversation at the moment in like generative AIs that they should be unbiased. But if they're unbiased, they're not artists, because every artist is biased. Every artist makes intentional choices about how their artwork should look or what they don't look at. So trying to build a model that learns in that respect, for me at the moment, is the really fun project.
Yeah, I feel like you have to sort of redefine bias in that sense. It's too convoluted as a word, as a concept for so many different things where it might not be good.
Yeah.
But your own selective preference technically is still a bias.
It is, 100%.
But yeah, the convolution there is an issue.
So we went to a conference, and it was about like ethics in AI and stuff, and these guys were like, yes, you need to build these totally unbiased models, and then put my hand up and was like, dude, I'm an artist. I don't want my art to look like everyone else's, so it has to be biased.
Yeah.
So how do we accept it? And they just kind of stood there, looked at each other on the stage and went, oh yeah, we've not thought about this. I was like, dude.
Yeah?
You're trying to convince everyone in the creative industries that they should be using AI, and then you're also telling them that they're not allowed to make personalized AI models that are biased.
How would the kids say it these days? Tell me you don't understand art without telling me? It's funny you bring that up, because there's in a separate vein, in a fictional sci-fi series that I really love, there's this issue with after humans had essentially conquered death, that art changed. They didn't have that, what they called as the mortal era view of life and death and love and passion, because the post-mortal era, you didn't have that urgency or that fear. So art just kind of became this maybe sort of unbiased vanilla, not really, you didn't see any passion in the art anymore. Yeah. Because they didn't understand the finite nature of the way humans used to live, and it was such an interesting concept to explore.
What series is that from?
It's called Arc of a Scythe.
Arc of a Scythe.
It's a fantastic series about how once we've accomplished a super intelligent AI, it essentially solved aging, disease, everything. Yeah. But, and I don't want to spoil it too much for if you want to read it, but essentially the most important thing is that the AI realized to avoid becoming the scary monster that humans were worried about, it could not allow itself domain over life or death. And left that to humans to figure out. So humans could still procreate, but humans would therefore also, since people are now essentially immortal, had to figure out how to curb population growth, because eventually if people are having babies and no one's dying, Earth is eventually going to get to a point to where you either got to get off planet or kill as many people are being born. And that's where the scythedom comes in, which is really fascinating. Basically, people where their profession, they're above all laws other than 10 laws that the scythes have, and their whole purpose is to have a quota of people that they glean each year. And yeah, the rest is it's just an incredible book by Neil Shusterman, one of my favorite series. That's only rivaled recently now by me finishing the 3 Body Problem series by Cixin Liu, which is incredible.
Phenomenal. But when you first started reading them, how long did it take you to get your head round to go, why does this not read properly? And it's not because it's been translated from Chinese, but because, just their cultural reference of like language and people is so different.
It was probably anywhere from 25 to 50% through the first book.
Same.
Because at first I was kind of confused. The whole idea with the Cultural Revolution, I mean, the emotion's insane. I've cried several times reading those books, just like, oh my gosh, this is wild. And it had the perspective from a Chinese writer. Was so awesome.
It was, wasn't it?
But yeah, it took a little while. I was actually speaking to another customer that was giving a very long ride into Santa Ana, Irvine area, about the arc of a scythe and AI and everything, and he recommended 3 Body Problem.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, it's a little tough to maybe get into initially.
Yeah. It's worth
but, and it was true, but the second I think it got to, oh man, what was the turning point for me? I mean, going into the game was pretty incredible. And I immediately was like, something else is happening here. And me just being a physics and cosmology geek, I instantly started thinking about 3-bodied star systems around me. And I also love playing games like Stellaris and space games. And I was like, oh boy. So I already knew, not to give it away. Yeah, I was like, I already knew too where they were. And I'll say they loosely for my own audience if they do want to read the books and not get spoiled. But I was like, oh my god. There's also an Easter egg in the last of the 3 main books in Arc of a Scythe that has a SpaceX reference that I think may not have been intentional, but might have been, given something that happens. And I'm like, all right, if this, it's so cool that the author had the state of mind to put this in the book. But man.
So what you were saying about death and before, so have you read Ian M. Banks or the Culture series and those sci-fi books?
I haven't yet.
So Ian M. Banks, Scottish author, he died about 6-7 years ago now. Phenomenal writer. And this whole thing about the culture is like the humanity. Humanity has developed AI that are solving everything. The AI are in control. And it's where the SpaceX names of the landing ships come from.
Oh, yes! Yeah. I knew that part. Yeah.
So
shortfall of gravitas.
Exactly.
Yep.
Just read the instructions.
Yep.
Those are names,
yeah, totally.
Those are names of planet-destroying battleships.
Yes.
It's absolutely
That's right.
glorious.
Wrong way. Okay, so I just took over, have a routing issue. That happened actually on another customer trip on this exact one. So,
oh, really?
System took the incorrect path. That goes back to Tesla as a voice note, and hopefully that did the little thing to the map data.
Wow,
so I'll have to go back and test it.
Feedback is amazing. That's really simple feedback as well.
Well, even without my voice note, they are getting that disengagement feedback data back automatically too.
But you've actually got a human reference to it now. So it gives it context.
Sorry to interrupt your thought process there, but yeah, that's why it sounded familiar. The name familiar because of the landing ships for SpaceX's.
Yeah. So there's one of the books. I've just had to find the quote for you. You're talking about that kind of choice about life and death. About when we get to that point, how does it all work? And there's 2 aliens talking about this in one of the books, and it's like, the humanities have constructed this paradise from first principles, and yet they all spend their time either making art or doing incredibly dangerous hobbies.
Yeah.
And it's like, so with almost all natural threats gone, these people find their lives so hollow they just have to recreate false versions of just the sort of terrors untold generations of their ancestors spend their existences attempting to conquer. And then the reply from the other guy is just, it's one of my favourite quotes. It's like, I think that's a little like criticising someone for owning both an umbrella and a shower. It's the choice that makes the difference.
That's so good. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh. There's a little bit of that too, kind of loosely similar in the Arc of a Scythe series, because also even those people who would have died for something aren't died. They're recovered by ambulance drones, ambu drones, and taken to a center where they can essentially be put back together.
Yep.
And then their memory constructs just uploaded and they continue. So people make a habit out of splatting, where people jump off of buildings because they know they're not going to die, like permanently. They go dead-ish.
A new hobby.
Yeah, and they want to, and the pain nanites and everything in the body kind of like make it as little painful an experience as possible. So it becomes recreational. If people are doing these things that you're like, oh my God, what the heck? Like, we can't even wrap our head around. But in that age where death is conquered, it's wild. It was such. I've read that series twice through completely, and probably will read it again.
But it's that thought, isn't it? So it's like we make so many choices within our day-to-day lives that we are constantly assessing risk.
Mm-hmm.
So once you remove that risk,
the options become huge.
but also what happens to the responsibility?
Yes. Yep.
Of your choices?
Yeah.
Because regardless of, oh yeah, I'll be back in 20 minutes, you're still potentially giving someone else an experience or yeah, let's go splatting, and then I land next to a 9-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that kid's never going to die, and their memory is now going to be intact all the way through their life.
Yeah.
And so that is one of their first forming constructions. Now, do I have responsibility within the element here of my choice of what I'm doing to that person?
Yep. That's one of the things I love about reading these books, because it makes you actually start to consider those things.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, what the hell?
I think people's behaviour on games like GTA, it will be fairly similar. It's wasted. No worries, I'll just wake up at the hospital.
There's essentially 3 things that can still permanently end you. Well, 4 if you include a scythe gleaning you, because the AI cannot intervene. A scythe action is permanent, which is how you get around that. But there are other things, like fire, acid. The body gets destroyed to the point where it can't be reconstructed, or consumption. If you happen to get eaten, that's it. But pretty much aside from those, you're good. Whether it's a gunshot, hit by a truck, fall from a building, all these kind of crazy things.
Yeah, I think the thing that I realised years ago, sci-fi is just a philosophy textbook for dummies.
Yes.
Because you can sit there and you can read about these concepts and really sit there and think about them and then go, oh my God, I've just joined a philosophy class.
Yep. That it does. My favorite book, I think, for that. Well, it's kind of between parts of 2 and 3, because it doesn't really spoil anything to say. In the second book, you actually get a lot more of the AI's perspective,
right?
Of the Thunderhead, which I could see the Arc of a Scythe. Actually, it's not impossible to imagine our society getting there.
Yes. And
I hope we are lucky enough to have the Thunderhead, and not some other version of an AI, because the Thunderhead is freaking incredible, and It's funny to say it's probably my favorite character in the books.
Okay.
Because it is the omnipresent AI, and it even has its own kind of dry AI witty humor when it's actually talking to people.
If you haven't read the Culture series, you will love them.
Yeah, I definitely need to.
Yeah,
that I feel like I'm breaking a lot of rules by not having already had that under my belt.
But no, the dry humor of these omniscient beings is just like, oh, it's those guys again.
Kind of like the little clips you would get from like Data in Star Trek, or Isaac from the great Orville series, which is still such a brilliant masterpiece of comedy and actual good drama that anybody who didn't want to watch it because they thought it was just a spoof of Star Trek really missed out.
No, it was a tribute.
Oh, truly.
It was a tribute.
It's a
to
tribute.
TNG. That's all it was. He said before, it's like, I just wanted to carry on making the Next Generation, but with some aspects of Voyager accidentally thrown in somewhere.
Yes. That's so good. I've really enjoyed the hell out of this conversation, guys. It's one of the reasons I love doing this work.
Fascinating.
Have some great talks with some awesome people.
No, it's been a pleasure.
And aside from it, messing up its little routing there, it pretty much got us here.
Yeah, no,
Let's
that's
go.
impressive.
Yeah, this has been so good to see.
Excited to hear it. Now, if you guys are cool with it, if you're okay, you can be fully featured on the channel, or I can have you blurred or cut out altogether. I'm very cognizant of people's privacy. The audience loves this kind of stuff more than anything, but it is totally your call. So
It's up to you, man. I don't.
You're okay with it?
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, I think I'm fine as well.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, names are still kept out, but by default, I blur faces if I don't get to ask the question, just to protect people's privacy.
Okay, yeah.
But with fun folks like y'all, if it's something you're cool with, I like to fully feature and just have fun with it. And again, that's a direct link to it. I mean, this video will probably be up here in a couple of days. It's one of the better interactions.
Do you want your face? What should we do?
No, I don't. I'm not. You blur if you want.
No, let's leave it.
It's either way. Yeah, it's totally easy. No, so no worries.
No,
all good,
it's
man.
all good.
Oh, well, I appreciate it, guys.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, same to you.
Have fun.
Nice one.
Same.
See you
And I will definitely be checking out those books. Thanks.
Thanks for the lift.
Yeah, take care.
And thanks to the computer.
Oh, yeah, right? All right, that was an incredibly fun conversation. I hope you guys really enjoyed that. I love being able to have that sort of conversation. Today's been a good day for it. I mean, the gentleman who is familiar with flying and autopilot technology on airlines to these gentlemen and chatting about, you know, sci-fi and the concepts of humanity and everything that comes with it is great. I'll catch you guys in the next video. It is a busy day.